Welcome to On the Front Line, the Military Rec Show, your source for insightful conversations with the leaders, visionaries, and changemakers dedicated to enhancing the lives of service members and military families. Hosted by John Prue, an accomplished MWR professional with nearly 4 decades of experience, each episode explores the leadership, innovation, and programs driving the future of military recreation and community engagement. In this episode, we're joined by Captain John Malfitano, former commanding officer of Naval Station Great Lakes, for an inspiring conversation on leadership, service, and the lasting impact of MWR. This episode highlights how exceptional leadership creates stronger communities and enhances the lives of those who serve. This is On the Front Line, powered by the DPRS Media Network. Let's dive in.
All right, it is 13:30 on Tuesday, 2 June 2026, and you are on the front line. My name is John Prue, as the host of this weekly podcast focused on armed forces or military recreation. We talk to professionals in the industry who are in some way making a difference in the quality of life for our military and their families. For all of you out there, you might be a morale, welfare, or recreation or MWR professional who directly supports the quality of life for our military and families each and every day. Maybe you are or have been in the military and a user of MWR programs and services at some point, and we thank you for your service. Perhaps you're a business or organization which directly supports or wants to support our armed forces recreation professionals around the globe. You might just be a public parks and recreation professional curious about this thing called military recreation and what it's all about. Or perhaps you don't fit into any of those categories and you just tuned in. Either way, welcome. Welcome to On the Front Line, the Military Rec Show. All right, this is going to be a great show. I get to talk to my old CO, Captain John Malfitano. Now, I've worked for a lot of COs in my time, honestly, but Captain Malfitano was always someone who truly understood the impact of MWR. And during a time where decisions needed to be made related to our food and beverage operation at Great Lakes, um, where as most of you know who listen to the show, I was there for 34 years. Anyways, he made some tough calls, which enabled us to have some great success in the years to follow. So, bottom line, I'm really looking forward to this conversation and to discuss the impact on quality of life, which he did as a military leader, but also the quality of life he had um, as a military member through his family and through his very respected naval career. So, anyways, looking forward to the conversation. As you know, we are part of an amazing media company called Daily Parks and Recreation Show, or DPRS. DPRS Media exists to honor those park and recreation professionals, reflecting on the stories, highlighting the careers, and celebrating those real pros who are doing the essential work in our communities. And yes, that includes our military communities. Want to give a shout out to our producer today, Jovi. Once again, Jovi keeps me in check, so to speak, and that's tough to do sometimes. But she's working behind the scenes, pulling up graphics, doing transitions, and in advance, Jovi, thank you for what you do. I also want to give thanks to our founder of DPRS Media, Mr. Craig LeBlanc, for allowing us the opportunity to have this weekly podcast focused solely on military recreation and the great work that is being done out there. Side note, We do have our past episodes being loaded up on the YouTube channel. We do some post production on those, so it's a little bit of a process to get them loaded, but we have quite a few up there. You can look for Daily Parks and Rec Show. We have an On the Frontline playlist that's off there. And then we also have all of our audio files. Matter of fact, this one will probably be loaded within a couple days and will be on Spotify. So, another way to archive all of our episodes. And we're creeping up on the number 25 here. I think this is number 23 in terms of on the front line. But anyways, it's a great way to archive our files and another way for you to consume your podcast. So now on Spotify, and I want to thank Jovi. I know she's very involved with that process as well. All right, today's show sponsor is Outdoor Link. If you want to turn your entire city on and off with a swipe of a finger on an app, this is what Outdoor Link does. Outdoor Link builds smart cities connecting your park lights, splash pads, fountains, scoreboards, bathroom door locks, or anything powered by electricity into a simple app on your phone, tablet, or desktop, and can be controlled from any location 24/7, 365 days a year. If you want, if you would like to learn more about Outdoor Link, tune in to the Smart Parks Forward show with Dave Ramirez on the second and fourth Mondays at 1:30 Eastern Time on the DPRS network. You're going to see a little short promo on Outdoor Link and also one for something near and dear to my heart, JDP Services Management Consulting. So, Jovi, take it away, and we'll be right back. Promise.
JDP Services Management Consulting, supporting parks and recreation and the essential service they provide. Communities benefit greatly from having dedicated advocates who champion the value of play in open spaces. Such advocacy ensures that recreational areas are prioritized and managed in ways that enhance the overall quality of life for everyone. We are dedicated to fortifying public park and recreation agencies and other related organizations by taking a practical, engaged approach to consulting and training, addressing immediate needs while equipping clients with lasting insight and tools to strengthen their organizations for long-term success. JDP Services, Management Consulting, meeting needs and exceeding expectations.
In today's parks and recreation industry, communication, safety, and efficiency go hand in hand. That's where Outdoor Link comes in, delivering smart technology that empowers city departments and community planners to do more, smarter. Outdoor Link's platform connects and automates everything that keeps your parks running smoothly, from lighting and locks to signage, water features, Wi-Fi, and digital advertising. Control and schedule park lights for safety and energy savings. Remotely manage facility access. Coordinate fountains and splash pads. Provide public connectivity. All from one simple, unified platform, giving you real-time control, data, and cost efficiency. For parks and recreation agencies, that means safer spaces, smarter resource use, faster responses, and stronger community engagement. And behind every great park story is great infrastructure. That's why Outdoor Link proudly supports DPRS Media Company, helping the Daily Parks and Rec Show amplify the voices of professionals shaping our communities every day. Outdoor Link, smart, connected solutions for parks, recreation, and beyond.
All right, welcome back. This is the point of the show where we kind of take a peek on what's going on around the world and just to give you some updates before we bring on our guests. So, with that, Joby, if you could bring up the slide deck, we'll kind of work through that. First of all, as we've said before, and we'll give you a little bit of information on the back end of this, we are part of the or I am very connected with the Armed Forces Recreation Network, which is part of NRPA. And we have some great social platforms: Facebook, LinkedIn. If you'd like to join, you're going to see some QR codes here, but very easy. If you're in the business at all, ask to join, and we'll allow you in there, and you can see these come across your feed. But I want to highlight a couple things here. A little Navy centric here today, but sorry about that. That's just the way it kind of popped up. Sometimes we got a lot of stuff from the Army. Sometimes it's Marine Corps. Sometimes it's Air Force. Just happens to be a little bit more centric to Navy, but some good stuff happening out there. NSA Maine, I want to highlight up in the upper left on this one. They had a fishing trip, a deep sea fishing trip that they took out and supported from there. Used to be called Portsmouth. Now they're referred to as Naval Support Activity Maine, and they're doing really good things up there in the heart of Maine, to take care of their folks that are stationed there. Down below that, we have Whiting Field, and you'll see they've got an aquatics camp, a lifeguard camp. So not only are they opening their pools and hiring lifeguards, which is incredibly challenging all around the country. It doesn't matter if it's public parks and recreation or military. Finding lifeguards, qualified lifeguards, is a challenge. And so they not only have them on staff, but they've actually got a little mini lifeguard camp they're taking them through, really getting them prepared as they get into the summer months and their pools are fully open. So I thought that was really awesome, that they were doing that. In the middle, we're talking about Rota, Spain, and there they had the Great Navy Camp Out. It's a program through our headquarters at Navy, which really kind of highlight outdoor, getting the families together in a camp setting. Typically done on a base in the appropriate areas, but a little tent camping going on, a lot of fun, a lot of activities, and they had their program. Down below on the right side, you'll see Subbase New London, and they had their Great Navy Campout. You'll see a lot of these Great Navy campouts happening throughout the summer and into the fall. So the first two kind of jumped out there, so wanted to highlight them. And then up above on the right side, we're talking NAS Lemoore, who's kicking off their splash campaign. It's water safety. It's making sure not only kids know how to swim, but they're also safe in doing that. So the splash campaign's been with the aquatics program, especially in the Navy. It's promoted as part of the program standards, and they're off doing their thing. So definitely want to highlight that. Aquatic safety is super important, and we definitely want to focus on those things. Okay, coming up here, we're right around the corner. I think I talked about it last week, but June 13th to the 21st in San Antonio, Texas, and it is off an installation. It's at a public location. We've got the Warrior Games. Sponsored through the Department of War, Paralympic style activity through the adaptive sports programs for injured, ill, and wounded, not only active duty, but also veterans who can participate in this. So great competition. They're going to probably have somewhere in the area of about 260 to 275 athletes. Fisher House, a major non-for-profit supporter, helps to bring in their families and caregivers to support and root them on. It really is very cool. So if you are down in the San Antonio area, and I will be by chance, I'm hoping to sneak down there. I'm going to go be visiting my son in Austin, Texas. And the last couple days, I will be down there. So I'm hoping to see the last days of competition or the closing ceremony myself. But this is just awesome. It's a great activity. And like I said, Fisher House bringing in those family members and caregivers, the healing power of sports, and they don't do it any better than the Warrior Games. So just want to definitely highlight that as well here today. And then this is just a hodgepodge of various big events that are happening across the services and around the world. Freedom Fest and independence celebrations, and then throw in the 250th anniversary of our country. It's going to be a wild week from basically late June all the way through the 4th of July of major, major events happening in installations around the world. And we're going to highlight that. Matter of fact, I am working on guests, hopefully, to represent some of these larger events and kind of walk us through the event planning. I was involved in one. We'll talk about it today with my former CEO, who certainly understands what we did at Great Lakes. But it's a lot of work and effort, but it's also very rewarding to do big events like this. In some cases, open to the public. Sometimes they're closed off and only invited guests. Either way, there's lots of people at these large events. You've got concerts, you've got carnivals, you've got fireworks, you've got all sorts of really cool um, uh, entertainment items to really do a celebration the right way. So we'll be watching for these, some of the post publicity on the events, and like I said, hoping to get a couple special events coordinators into some of our shows in July or August to kind of talk about them as well. Okay. It might be hard to see, but the bottom line is we do have a quite an extensive lineup in DPRS media. This just kind of helps you organize. There's so many shows going on. One of our show hosts asked, if there was a cheat sheet on when all the shows were going on, and this was produced by the back of the house team, and they did a great job. And you'll see more of this come out on social media. But the bottom line is DPRS is growing. There's tons of shows. This one is the 565th show in a little more than a year and a half. So hats off to Craig and everyone that is contributing to this network of park and recreation podcasts that are out there that are now on YouTube and Spotify. So awesome stuff. Okay, and lastly, these are just the QR codes for the Armed Forces Recreation Network, all part of NRPA. This really, this podcast has been born off of that network. My involvement with NRPA and Armed Forces Recreation Network, and although it's not officially connected to NRPA, we certainly support all of their efforts, especially related to the Armed Forces Recreation folks that are doing the great work. So on the left, their monthly meetings coming up. That's actually next Wednesday. It's always the second Wednesday of each month. And they're focusing on an outdoor recreation roundtable. So that happens at 12 Eastern, 11 Central, and pretty easy to sign up through NRPA and get an invite and attend that. That's typically a Zoom meeting. And then in the middle is our Facebook, probably the most popular. We have anywhere from 150 to 170 posts or reposts, and so all those cool programs from all the services are continually coming through that feed. So if you're not a member, just ask to join, and we'll get you on there, and you can see all that good stuff. And then LinkedIn, we talk about a lot of different things, not quite as active, not quite as big, but certainly another opportunity to network and connect with your fellow Armed Forces Recreation folks. So thank you for NRPA and Armed Forces Recreation Network for what they do. Jovi, you can pull that back down. All right. So here's what my favorite thing to do. I get to introduce my former CEO. He had a distinguished military career as a naval aviation officer, who not only was a user of MWR and quality of life services throughout his career, he finished up his naval career leading an entire fleet and family readiness program for Navy Region Mid Atlantic. So we'll talk a lot about that. As a matter of fact, that was the last military billet to kind of head that position. So pretty significant. So, anyways, I am so glad to have Captain John Gucci Malfitano here today. Captain, welcome. Welcome to On the Front Line.
Hey, John, good to see you. Thank you. Please call me John.
Oh, okay. That's going to be tough to do.
I know. Please.
I was
Here with
mentioning,
you.
I was mentioning, we all work for senior leaders, and you refer to them. In this case, captain. I work for many CEOs, and it is so weird. And we've stayed connected and talked, but I run into my old CEOs, and it's hard to say them by their first name. You just know them as captain. So
Well, let's
appreciate
not
that.
joke around, John. I mean, you should really refer to me as your best customer ever.
Yes, yes, yes.
And
We're
that's
gonna
not
talk.
really much of an exaggeration.
We're going to talk about that. Yeah, yeah, that was really interesting. But we'll get to the Great Lakes chapter. Um, for our audience, why don't you, as a retired Navy captain, you had quite the journey, the naval career. Why don't you give us a little background and walk us through your career as a naval officer?
Sure, John. Yeah, pleasure to be here with you. Thanks so much. Like you said, a typical aviation career, as a junior officer and department head, eventually had aviation command, and then I got to go work for NATO for a while. General Jim Mattis, learned a lot from
Oh,
him at the time. And then little time at the War College in Newport, Rhode Island, little time with OPNAV, the Chief of Naval Operations staff there for a while. And then delighted to come back to Great Lakes. I had an aide tour there from 1996 to 1998 when I served as the aide to the commander of the Naval Training Center there at the time. It changed its name a few years later, but
yeah.
what a delight when was given the opportunity to command an installation, and I actually asked to be selected for Naval Station Great Lakes, and the Navy was very kind in granting me that wish.
Now
And
you're brave because a lot of people didn't want Great Lakes for a number
well,
of reasons, but those were the people that didn't know Great Lakes.
exactly.
Yeah,
You were there for a long time as well. We had some nicknames that the new sailors would throw around, great mistakes, stuff like that, and it really kind of came out of ignorance for those that didn't know, and I knew
sure.
because I'd been up there for 2 years, and I knew how fabulous it was. Chicago, Milwaukee, great towns, great support from the surrounding community there for our mission there with all the new sailors and with the A schools, bringing them up through specialized training there. 40%, I think, of the sailors went there for follow-on training. So it was just really a wonderful mission. And yeah, I truly enjoyed my 2 years there.
Yeah, Navy's only boot camp, and yeah, turning civilians into sailors, the mecca of training. If you talk to Carl Ross and some of those other folks, we
That's
had
right.
lots of names to pat ourselves on the back, but I do think it was a critical mission. It's the pipeline to sailors going into the fleet and into the Navy, and that's super important, an important role for you as the CEO of the base at that time.
Absolutely. Yeah, we had three boot camps for a long time in San Diego and Orlando and Great Lakes. So when BRAC in the 90s came up and decided to close the other two places, I think there was a lot of shock because,
Yeah,
both Orlando and San Diego, they had these wonderful presentations showing the wonderful sunshine and all. And Great Lakes had penguins, sliding down the hill and stuff. But
yeah,
because the weather can be so severe there, they were able to do everything inside. So there were no lost days due to Black Flag days because it was too hot or whatever. So that heavily influenced the situation. Plus, there was room to expand. San
yeah.
Diego, zoning, you can only go so high. There's only so much room to expand. So Great Lakes turned out to be
Well,
the natural choice.
that is interesting. We're not going to do a BRAC episode here, but it
Right.
was very interesting how that all played out. And San Diego didn't argue. I think they saw the writing on the wall. DoD made the recommendation for Great Lakes to stay open. So then the BRAC Commission goes and reviews everything and deals with all the politics and the communities that are up in arms that a base is closing. Trivia question for you: who was the head of the BRAC Commission when I believe this was BRAC 95? I believe that this all happened with the training centers um, being involved. Do you remember who the BRAC head of that commission was?
I do not know.
Joe Biden. Joe
Is that
Biden.
right? Wow. Small world.
And I did not know how close it. We did a lot of data calls. I know Carl Ross. There was a few people that were pretty core. Obviously, Jerry Heeb, who was my boss, was pretty involved. A lot of data points to defend why Great Lakes was there. And it was
Right.
like, oh,
I think
okay.
Admiral Matt Gaston was the admiral there at the time.
Yeah,
As well.
yeah, absolutely. And then all of a sudden it came down to, we're listening to the BRAC thing, and I had no idea that Great Lakes was probably about this far for being overturned and it going to Orlando instead of Great Lakes. I'm like, oh, I wasn't even nervous about it. And maybe I should have been. But it came down, the basically what they said was it was a dead heat. There was even
Yep.
reasons for Orlando and Great Lakes, and they're going to stick with DOD's recommendation because they had no reason to overturn it, but it was dead heat. So,
Yeah.
thankfully, my career lasted a little longer in the Great Lakes.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I got 2 tours out of it myself.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I derailed you on your
Oh
career.
no, it's all good. It's all good.
So,
So
what
then,
happened
like
next for you?
yeah, like I said, Great Lakes, and then I went back to sea. I was a chief of staff of the Eisenhower Carrier Strike Group for a couple deployments on Dwight D. Eisenhower. That was my final sea tour, and then I came back, and like you mentioned earlier, I was the Fleet and Family Readiness Program Director for Navy Region Mid-Atlantic, that N9 position. I was the last military N9 in that position before they turned it into a civilian GS-15 position.
Yeah, that was something else to see you come back. And that was about the time we were rotating. Midwest had gone away. Navy Region Midwest
Right.
had gone away. So Great Lakes was rolling into Midland, and you being the N9 gave us a little bit of comfort of rolling into a new region at the time. It was awesome.
It was good. It was good to have Great Lakes in our fold at Navy Region Mid-Atlantic.
Did that help you being a former CEO in that position, kind of understanding
Absolutely.
the N9 portfolio of all those programs?
Absolutely, because we have as we've got department heads, right? Like you were, and MWR director and all when you're the installation CO. But now as the N9, I've got program managers heading our double codes, our N91, family housing, MWR, childcare, etc. That you're the director with oversight and responsibility over everything, but they're the managers actually running the program. So you depend on their expertise. Many of them have been in the job for dozens of years, really real professionals. So, you rely on them heavily to, and then you carry the banner for them to the admiral, and ultimately he makes the call. But yeah, I was blessed with, great directors like yourself up at Great Lakes, and then great, double N codes and program managers at Navy Region Mid-Atlantic as well.
Yeah, and Midland's arguably one of the biggest regions within CNIC, Commander Navy Installation Command. There I am throwing those acronyms out, expecting that everybody knows what they are.
Yeah, and having Fleet Forces, the 4-star command right down the road from you, having Admiral's Row with all the 4 and 3 stars right on your base. Yeah, you learn to pay attention and keep your ear low to the ground.
Yeah, I ended up wrapping up my career after I retired on the non-appropriated fund side from Great Lakes. I went to work for the region, and I got a new perspective of what it's like to understand the region and how things operate, because it was way different than an installation. It was magnified quite a bit.
It is, no doubt.
So interesting.
No doubt.
So, tell me about aviation. You're a pilot by trade. That's how you came into the Navy. So,
So you pull up on the stick and the houses get smaller, and you push down and the houses get bigger.
Okay. What did you fly? Tell us a little bit about
I fly the Navy E-2C Hawkeye, big radar surveillance, airborne early warning, command and control plane. They call us the eyes of the fleet. So first to launch because they want to get us off the deck because we're the big wings over 80 feet wide, and then the last to recover. But we're still around, been an airframe for going on over 50 years now, coming on to our 6th decade here of as a viable platform here. All the carriers have them, a squadron of E-2C Hawkeye. So I did a little stint for one tour flying a C-2 CODS carrier onboard delivery, doing supply and logistics, flying parts and people on and off carriers as well for about a year and a half. But all my other time was as a
I
Hawkeye pilot.
I landed on a carrier once. I had the good
Uh-huh.
fortune of taking a Navy entertainment tour out the Green Bay Packers, by the way, out onto
Great.
the Carl Vinson in February of 2011. So the arrested landing was quite interesting. I don't know that I would want to do it a lot, but it's cool to say I did do it
Right.
from that standpoint. So, was that a challenge for you? Those landings on carriers?
The training that you get that leads to that, like before I ever got in a Hawkeye, we had to fly 3 different planes, just a basic primary jet flyer, not jet, turboprop flyer, T-34 Mentor. It's even got a simple name to it, just to learn basic aviation skills. And then because I was going to the Hawkeye, I had to go down to that. This was in Pensacola, Florida, in Milton, Florida. And then I had to go from there to get jet training because the Hawkeye's carrier base. You need to learn to land on an aircraft carrier. So we went to the T2 Buckeye, which is no longer, in operation at the time, but primary jet trainer, where you learn aerobatics, formation flying, and then you learn how to land, ultimately learn how to land on the carrier, and you do it by yourself first time because it's a confidence builder. If you have an instructor sitting there right with you riding the controls, you don't really know if you can do it or not. So that you can successfully do it yourself. And then a short stint down at Corpus Christi, Texas, to get a little dual engine time flying the King Air T-44 King Air, because the Hawkeye is dual engine. So you have to learn, the jet, you lose one engine, it doesn't really change the direction of it too much. But in a prop, you lose one engine, it's a different type of flying. So got my wings down in Corpus Christi, Texas in 1988. And then you report to your training group, your fleet replacement squadron. In my case, it was in Norfolk, Virginia, where our Atlantic fleet is. And that's where you begin training in the Hawkeye, from basic familiarization to instrument flying, formation flying, ultimately, carrier operations as well. So, and then from there, you go to your first fleet squadron, and that's where you're the new guy. You're the new, everybody's watching you on the platform TV. There's no hiding, right? Your name is up there and the aircraft side numbers. So if you get waved off or go around, everybody knows who got waved off or went around a couple of times. And we all have we call it having a night in the basket, where everybody's got difficulties. But we all get better. We all get better the longer you stick around and do it. But it is a young man and young woman's game, as it should be. They should get more of the hours so that they can grow, skilled at doing so. So the more senior you get, they just give you enough arrested landings to scare yourself. They send us out as long as there's time constraints, that as long as you go out and get one night landing every week, you're good to go. They don't have to give you any day landings first. So the older guys, we'll send you out, just go get one night landing, and then you'll go fly again here in a week and get another night landing. Meanwhile, you're flying a lot, but you're the co-pilot, so the pilot's the one logging the actual landing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have to ask, Gucci, where did that come from? Where did that call sign?
John, that's going to take a whole separate episode, so I promise I'll come on at another time.
When did you get it? When did the name? How do the call signs work, generally speaking? It
should never be anything cool. It's usually something stupid that you've done
or embarrassing.
And an early squadron that you've been in has recognized that, and that's what you get. The whole idea behind call signs is tactical brevity. Because to put John Malfitano on the side and say John Malfitano in aircraft, you want something brief, where you're talking on the radio a lot less. It's tactical. So that's where they derive from, certainly as far back as World War II, perhaps before that, but certainly as far back as World War II, that they got these call signs so that you weren't blabbering on the radio all the time.
Yeah, and it's amazing that I've seen so many people come through, and granted, Great Lakes was a surface warfare, but we had enough aviators come in there. everybody knew everybody's call sign like it was somebody's first name on a good friend. I was like, how do you remember all of those? And
Well,
some
it's
of them
really
are
funny.
very, very, they might be
It's
short,
not
but they're odd.
hard. It's not hard remembering call signs. What's hard is remembering their names. You're
Oh, the
like,
real
I've
name.
known this guy for 20, 25 years by his call sign. And someone asks you, well, what's his
Yeah,
name? I'm like, hold on a second. I'm not quite sure.
that makes sense. That makes sense.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
All right. Well, we are going to take a little break and see a promo here, but we are going to be back to talk more with John Malfitano, and we're going to talk about Naval Station Great Lakes, where we got a chance to work together very closely and did some pretty cool stuff together. So, Jovi, take us away. Promise we will be right back.
They say it's just rec. Just rec, where kids learn to try again. Just rec, where confidence begins. Where teamwork, effort, and fun matter more than trophies. It's not about perfection. It's about participation. It's not just rec. It's where kids learn to love the game and themselves. It's just rec until they learn teamwork for life. It's just rec, but it's everything to them. It's more than rec. It's a movement. It's just rec until you realize it's shaping the next generation. Together, we're not just running programs. We're building a culture of confidence, connection, and community. Join us.
This episode is brought to you by SDSU's Sports MBA program. If you're passionate about sports and want to work in the women's sports industry, then this is the time to pay attention. SDSU's program is 12 months accelerated hands-on learning where students have actually gotten to work with teams like the San Diego Mojo, partnered with the Farmers Insurance Open, and visited headquarters like the Upper Deck or Callaway Golf. It's built for people who want to be in rooms like that. So if you're interested, deadlines are approaching. Learn more or apply with the links in the description.
All right. We are back. Before we get into Great Lakes, I do want to ask you by the way, you had a whole naval career. Obviously, you got involved at the tail end with running the quality of life program for a huge Navy region. How much did you use MWR, or your family use MWR and or other quality of life programs throughout your career as just a user? What did it mean to you?
Yeah, constantly, all the time. Especially as a young officer reporting, even before I was married, before I had a family, reporting to any new duty station. The first thing I would do was find the nearest, MWR facility. Where's the nearest gym? Where's the nearest movie theater and all, just because it's a great way to kind of get to know the area. It's something that you can do without knowing a lot of people at first, right? It's also a place that you can meet people. And then, just becoming more senior, having a family and kids, bringing my kids to swimming pools located on the various installations, and then deploying, and myself, and taking advantage of, all the just can't say enough good things about the wonderful, Fit Boss and Fun Boss positions that were created. These representatives from MWR that really it sounds trite to say they bring the fun to you, but just physically taking care of the physical and psychological health of our our soldiers and sailors and airmen while they're away. It brings a piece of home to them. So it's easy to get caught up in the grind. Gerald R. Ford just got back from a 326-day deployment. How do you maintain your sanity when it's, one day after another of the same thing? You work out, you have some entertainment to distract you and change your mind from the daily grind. So can't say enough good things about the value that MWR has had in my life personally, and then professionally, how the sailors that I've served with have benefit from it as well.
Yeah, that's and I've heard a very similar story, and I always took a tact about our information ticket and travel office, which they provide discounted tickets and information about everything. They've got a lot of there's a lot of mission in that business line, but the most important thing I really understood, and I think I always wanted to make sure we focused on was being that concierge, so to speak, for those, whether it's a new recruit or a new A school student or a staff member that was checking in or a family member. We had a lot of staff that was tied to boot camp, and their hours were absolutely crazy. So some of those spouses were on their own to figure out the base and figure out everything else because the active duty member was buried in crazy hours and basically living at boot camp. But if we could be that touch point and that concierge and kind of take that attitude that we're telling people where to go and how to go, and not just show them a brochure or a price list, but also walk them through those little things that people want. Again, like you'd see in a concierge in a hotel or anywhere else. So I always thought that was a cool business line, and at a place like Great Lakes, it really was important because all we saw were new people, the
Right.
Navy's newest people in
Right.
many cases. So we had to be the example of what hopefully they would see because you know how it is. You're
Well,
MWR or Burger King or anything, and you have a bad experience, you're probably not going back, even if you go to another
exactly.
city. So
Exactly. And you're right. And Great Lakes is an odd animal, and that that's their first exposure to any sort of a program aside from the regimented boot camp that they've just come out of. So here they're locked on. Now all of a sudden they realize, okay, wait a second, there are some services where I can enjoy myself and relax a little bit. Yes, I've got duty, I've got school, I've got responsibilities. But there, that the Navy, the services value recreation and your welfare as well. So, and then, you set a really high bar to follow because, we're always well resourced up there. It's kind of a hard act to follow at some of the larger
yeah,
installations where there's just so many people, so many, fleet concentration center areas where the volume is much larger. So, we definitely we set the bar high in Great Lakes, and
yeah.
with expectations about what they, it just kind of feeling good about that they've signed on the dotted line, that it's not just all about, yes sir, no sir, and inspections and standing duty, that there's fun involved as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So you came back to Great Lakes. You spent some time with Admiral Green. You had a chance to be involved with installation management, and you said you personally asked to come back to Great Lakes. Um,
I did.
so
I
is
did.
never a doubt that was a good thing. You never had any second thoughts.
No,
Now,
never.
now, now we can have this conversation.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I know. I've always been very clear about this, that I asked. That was my first choice. And I was
Yeah,
kind of ribbed about it by some of my peers and contemporaries. When the list of possible installations came out, Great Lakes was on it, and I saw that as very fortuitous. So I put
yeah,
Great Lakes first, and I submitted that. And we don't see what each other submits, but I called my captain aviation detailer the following week, and I said, hey, any word? And he looks at me like, are you serious? I'm like, what? He goes, you put Great Lakes. He goes, you're going to Great Lakes. And I'm like, great. And he's like, are you serious?
you're
I'm
the
like,
only
yeah, I
one that
wanted
put
to
it.
go to Great Lakes. And it was because I'd been there, from
Yeah,
96 to 98, and had such a positive experience, and attending the boot camp graduations, and, just seeing these polished stones becoming gems at boot camp. Just the wonderful mission is just so inspiring every single week. To at the time, and I know when I was CO there, I think we were bringing in between 40 and 45,000 a year. But when I've been there as a loop from 96 to 98, we were bringing in over 50,000. We had 2 graduations a week, so it was we were really pushing a lot of boots
Yeah.
at that time.
You came in at a really interesting time. I think you took command from Captain Dave Schnell,
Yeah,
who was
good
prior
friend.
to you.
Yep.
Good guy. He kind of brought back the 4th of July after 9/11. We went on hiatus for a few years because of security issues, and he had the faith in us and his security team to bring it back. I think we did an on base only in 2006 or 7, and then by 8 and 9 we were back open to the public and growing. But you came, I think, in what, 2010 was it?
9, 2009
9,
and
back
2011.
end of 9, yeah.
Yep.
And then we were then rolling up into the centennial of the base
Yeah.
itself in 2011, and you had to spearhead that. So was that nerve wracking, or did you know that coming to Great Lakes that they were
I
they were coming up on a huge 100-year anniversary?
So I'll use the word fortuitous again. That I just kind of did the mental math. I'm like, wait a second, we're gonna because I had taken command in July of 2009, and I knew I had 2-year orders, meaning plus or minus a month, and I knew our centennial was in July of 2011. So like I may end up being the centennial CO here, and it did work out that 2 weeks before my change of command, when Gary Sinise and the Lieutenant Dan band were there every single year, he was actually playing there, not at my change of command, but you guys had brought him in there to play his annual thing there. He was great, supporter of the military, and he had family up in Wisconsin as well, so I know he'd go visit his mom and dad up there too. But just a great guy. So yeah, we had a lot of fun there those years and planning it. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think, did we not have the largest firework display outside of Chicago?
Oh yeah, yeah, we did. It was a 3-day festival for the centennial.
Right.
We had multiple days of fireworks. We had headline entertainers. It was absolutely crazy, but it was one of those things, as I mentioned when we were highlighting these big events that are happening out there coming up in a couple of weeks. It's one of those things that you spend literally months, and it's a collateral duty to build these huge events. And we had won many, many awards. Matter of fact, I think under your watch we won the Grand Pinnacle Award, which is through the
Yeah.
International Festival and Events Association,
Yep.
recognized one of the best events in the world for our budget category. But you work so hard to put these on; it's extra hours. You're still doing your everyday thing,
Right.
and I don't know how many steps. We didn't count steps back in those days, but I don't know how many steps we put on, but we put on a heck of a lot of them, and you'd be wiped out at the end, but you knew you put on a show. You got a chance the one time a year outside of graduations, which are a little different, where the
Right.
community gets a little peek behind the door of what Great Lakes Naval Station is all about. And you put on that great show. Not to mention you're celebrating the centennial in this case in 2011, but also our nation's birthday as well. And it's always the birthday of the base, the way it rolls up at Great Lakes. So I don't know. We must be nuts, but the whole team gets worked hard, and it's not MWR. We're putting on the entertainer. It's the whole command, security, awesome job.
Yes.
TSC, or providing the manpower to support all of those things.
Public Works. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody that gets involved. It was crazy. So, hey, Jovi, could you bring up that slide deck again? I want to show
Yes.
John a couple little
And
pictures.
I'm right there.
Yeah, I think I might have cut you off on the flag here. You guys were up front. I remember when this all happened. This obviously we worked closely with the A school, TSC, who kind of controlled the students out there, putting all this together. But this is literally a remake of the human flag, which was originally done at Great Lakes early on in its time frame. So you want to talk about these little things?
Yeah, that was
that happened?
and you saw me look to the side here because I've actually got a framed photo of that flag and that that event, which was just amazing. We had spotters up on top of building one, the big clock tower, the big water tower, to saying, hey, and, radioing down them, hey, have them slide this way and all. The weather was not ideal. It was kind of foggy that day, but we pulled it off and made it very special. But that was quite the collaborative effort.
And for our folks that are listening to this on just audio and you can't see the pictures, this is literally a human flag. Folks dressed in their, I guess, utilities.
Whites and blues.
Yeah, whites and blues. It is so cool to see. And then there's a group that spells out 100, all in their whites, all on the parade field that looks down from the clock tower at Great Lakes. But do you remember how many people were involved in that human flag?
Oh, good heavens! I was going to ask you. How many. Yeah, I don't know. I don't recall offhand. It was quite the number.
Yeah, and it's again of a remake of, I don't know what it was, 1917 or something like that. The original human flag and remake. So really something. I think this caught the media, even Chicago media. I think did a story or covered this some way somehow. So that was pretty cool.
It was.
Let's see what other. See if we got another. Oh,
there it is.
Here we go.
Yeah.
There's the 4th of July. So bring back memories for you.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I remember that fireworks show. I know you had fireworks every night, but it particularly just the light show and everything just reflecting, as you can see in the picture, on building one, just this historic, clock tower. It was a wonderful backdrop to all the fireworks that went on that day. Just spectacular. I have fond memories of it to this day.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a video out there somewhere I could rewatch, and the music being great. And
before, when drones were first getting in and they didn't have an official policy on them, it was approved for some local guy in Lake Forest to come in and do a drone. So there is a video, really cool video, right over where the fireworks are shot in front of the clock tower, where a drone is just hovering over and it was set to music. Yeah, I'll get you the link to see that video. It's pretty.
Oh, that's great.
Pretty
we had
cool.
Tens of thousands of people on the base for that event, especially for the fireworks.
Yeah, I think we over the 3 days we got close to 50,000 people.
Absolutely.
Over the 3 days, it was pretty crazy. And then some people just don't understand when they see that gap. We put the firing line and hold everybody back, but we shoot a pretty good show all off in front of the clock tower.
Right.
And that was wild. All choreographed.
You don't want to burn the historic clock tower down.
We've had some interesting stories, but that's another episode for another day. But the other thing I wanted to mention, it doesn't always go well. You have to contend with weather. We did, surprisingly, knock on wood, we didn't have major things. But I do remember, and I think you were there, that little microburst.
It was a tornado. I think it wasn't it the night before the 3rd of July. I mean, I remember seeing that form, and I remember seeing it swirl and picking up and throwing some chairs and stuff. But that's all the damage it did. We were very fortunate. It wasn't obviously a very strong tornado, but it was a tornado.
Yeah.
And fortunately, the next day was good.
I'm telling you, worrying about weather over these 4th of July, when you have that much invested in it, I swear that's one reason why I'm a little gray these days.
I'm sure. You and me both. Yeah, because after months and months of planning and all the sponsors there, all the food trucks, just so many good things. You really want it to go well and not be arranged.
Yeah. Jovi, you can bring that back down. Okay, so another. I mentioned it. We had a dilemma with food and beverage. We ran a pretty robust program, but we were struggling with trying to find the right thing to support the staff. But yet we had a huge A school population, and we needed to do something. We had a bar restaurant in our catering conference center called the Portical. And so when you came in, we were dealing with this dilemma for a while, and we kept kicking the can. We don't know what to do, but there was a desire to have something that the staff could use, and we had to make that decision. Now, with that, you happened to come as a geo bachelor to Great Lakes, so you were living in the was it the Roosevelt, the little
Yes, little
yeah,
VIP, former VIP quarters. Yeah, visiting
yeah, just
quarters. Yeah,
just down the road from the
it's like
Porter's.
800 square feet, I think.
Yeah,
It's all I needed.
conveniently.
It's just for me. Yeah.
And so we had to make a tough decision, and I remember pitching the whole idea, because the pressures were coming from all the tenant commands about, oh, we need a place for staff, well, it's a commuter base, yes, we need a place for staff, but it also is one of those business operations that don't get any taxpayer dollars to support it. It has to make its way, or at least break even,
Right.
and we couldn't figure that out. And so, through the Boston Beer Company, we had an opportunity to brand a concept and create a brew club. And I remember briefing you, and I think my bottom line up front, or at least coming from me, was we this isn't going to work. They're not going to go for this branding concept if we can only limit it to GS7 and above, and
Right.
senior staff. And I said, hey, can we get people who are of drinking age to be able to use this facility and try to make it work? And you probably thought I was crazy pitching that, but you ultimately said yes.
No, I didn't think you were crazy at all. I think you're very insightful in that, first of all, you have to look at, what was in the surrounding community that was within walking distance that they could go to, and did we want to afford them the opportunity to do that? So, the galley was great. There was a McDonald's there they could go to, but other than that, the choices were somewhat limited. So when you brought in the brew club, first of all, the food was great, and I was joking earlier about being your best customer, but I think I actually was there for at least a year.
What?
And
Yeah, when you left, the economic impact was a huge hit.
I'm sorry, but so, and I put on a couple of pounds because, it was a 1 minute walk to the Sam Adams and a 2 minute walk to the gym. So it was much easier to go to the Sam Adams. But, we did receive some pushback from some folks saying, haven't you heard about the deglamorization of alcohol? And, what are you guys doing pushing alcohol? I'm like, we are not pushing alcohol. Everyone is of legal age there. And I said, I'd much rather have them drinking in our establishment. I'm like, I'm in there. I can see, I'm not against telling, a young lieutenant or petty officer, you've had enough, and, get your shipmate. He's going to escort you back to the barracks, and everything's going to be fine. You're not in trouble, but you've had enough. So that's what we did. And and then there was also a takeout for those who were not of age to drink. They could order food and get great food to bring back to the barracks there. So, and then I know in later years, you guys had a downstairs restaurant as well where they could dine.
Yeah. We ended up taking the restaurant and theming it. So we did our typical Monday through Friday lunch, but we were also open at night and expanded the program and allowed those sailors, those A school sailors who live literally kitty corner from that facility to come use it. Did you give them another option? And it ended up being a $1 million operation that was struggling prior to that, and really came down to your decision. I've said that to anybody that's ever heard the story. It was Captain Malfitano that had the guts to say yes, let's get it in there, and it all worked out. We really had very little incident. The students had a curfew, so there was kind of a self-managing situation in there, that there wasn't that intermingling that people were afraid of. They did their thing. Staff that would come in there did their thing, and hopefully people got a good product, which is what we were focused on, is providing that choice. So it worked out. But thank you. So many years later, I still think that was a gutsy call on your part.
It was fun. Yeah, I'm on social media, and you have the memories that come up, and every year that comes up, the ribbon cutting that we had, it brings a smile to my face. Good memories.
Yeah. You are the reason I got on Facebook too. You came in. As soon as you came in, you started talking about Facebook, and we needed to be on there, and that really, it was a thing, but it wasn't really kind of
At the
ever
time, yeah,
mandated or
back in
pushed.
2009, it wasn't that big, but yeah, we had
Yeah,
over 10,000 followers by the time I
yeah,
left. And I'll share a little secret with you. So I had a Skipper Malfitano Facebook account with me in uniform, and people would communicate with me that way.
yeah,
They would, they'd complain, and I would talk to the program manager. Hey, is this true? In some cases, it was not true, and I would respond to them and tell them that's not true. And they'd friend me, and try and buddy up to me. But yeah, if there was something that we could fix, if it was constructive feedback, we fixed it. And if it
yeah,
was something that they were putting bad gouge out about, I called them on it. And so the word got out that, hey, the captain is on this website and responding. So that was, it helped because people started using it more and more and realizing that, hey, there's good information here about wonderful events and facilities and resources that are available on the base here. So,
yeah. Well,
we
you were
drove a lot of people to the page.
you were definitely ahead of the game, and I think I was one of those people that were kind of resistant. I think my wife already had a Facebook account, and I was just like, eh. But you came in right from the start and started talking about this, and I'm like, I took the mentality: what interests your boss should fascinate you.
Exactly. Yes.
So I
Yes.
got yeah, I've been on Facebook since 2009. Thank you.
Great. Sure.
Um, Couple things with Great Lakes, and again, we're not just reminiscing. The kind of the moral of the story for our audience is we've got a leader that came in and did some things. It was a crucial time for our MWR department, not only the restaurant, but there were some other things going on with the tenant commands and a few other things. And it's good to have a leader that understood, challenged us, asked the right questions, and that's what everybody really needs. But also understood what our business line is and looked at every perspective. So again, thank you, and hopefully you're a model for the leadership out there today, because that's kind of how it should work at an installation. Um, there's too many times you see where something becomes a pet project, or someone doesn't want to listen, or somebody wants to influence. This was a very good working relationship that benefited. Didn't mean that MWR got everything we wanted by no means, but we actually walked through a process to be able to get things done. And I learned a lot. You were really the only second CO that I directly worked for at the time, so I learned a lot from you and being able to go forward and how to navigate properly. Um, and when to shut up sometimes. I learned that too.
Well, I appreciate that. So I don't know if we have the time, but are you going to share with
Yeah,
them the
we do.
one time that you really let me down?
Oh yeah, yeah. I have it. It's smithereens. It's smithereens. You tell the story because I'm not even
I
sure
will. So
I don't even know the origin anymore.
So we had a lot of great groups perform while I was there at Great Lakes. Just wonderful activities, and I kept asking John. I was like, because when I went to college in the '80s, the Smithereens were big. I always liked them. I said, "Can you get the Smithereens? Can you get the Smithereens?" And he just kind of would Heisman me, just keep me at arm's length there. And finally, it comes out. He's like, "Captain, have you heard them lately? They stink." I'm like, "No way." So, John, follow up to the story. About 2 years ago, I'm at the beach for Labor Day weekend, and I hear the Smithereens are playing just a couple of blocks up. So I go and I listen to them, and they were horrible because, well, in their defense, the lead singer had passed away years earlier. I had no idea. And the new lead singer they brought in didn't sound anything like it. Was a totally different sound. So I was let down, but I remembered you at the time.
Well,
that we did it, so.
I think I'm. Don't quote me on the story. I know they played at Great Lakes at an early 4th of July, but I think it was like in the 90s. So maybe you saw them maybe when you were here in your first stint.
Yeah,
And
perhaps.
so I've always had this little sheet, and now I get to show it
I
to you.
never saw that. I never saw that.
I'll send it to you. I'll
That
autograph
was always our running joke, and for years now, folks, I always rib John about the Smithereens. I'll send him memes about Smithereens and stuff.
Yeah, that's great. And the last thing I want to say, I brought this cup out to remind you
Oh,
the polar. I think you had a certificate that said the polar chicken, right?
Polar chicken, yes.
We- Great.
So
Yeah.
the admiral at the time, Tillman Payne, great
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
That last year that I was CO 2011, we did the every year we did the polar plunge,
Yeah.
and by we I don't mean me. And that morning it was 7 degrees, and if it was 0, even with the wind chill, I would have canceled it. But at 7, we're like, and his chief was begging me, Captain, please cancel it, because the admiral is determined to do this, and he's dragging all of us with him. So, and then my XO at the time and my command master chief also did it, and they had a life-size picture of me that they jumped in just to say that I had participated. So instead, I'm there in my my parka, and I'm handing out hot chocolate as people come out of the deep freeze there. So yeah, I told the admiral, I'm like, sir, you can court martial me. There's no way I'm voluntarily jumping into that water.
Yeah. No, that is awesome. I remember putting that logo together and having had it modified to say polar chicken. Somebody
Polar
wanted
chicken,
me to
yes.
get you a certificate. So
I was proudly presented the polar chicken certificate for failure to jump in.
one of those fun events. Yeah. So the last thing as we wrap it up here, I guess I always like to ask anybody in a senior leadership position, does what we do make a difference? Does MWR make a difference from your perspective, personally, professionally? Or is it just something that can be farmed out or go away and doesn't need to be a part of our military?
No, it is absolutely crucial, because we're human beings, and we can't be go all the time. You need something to relax, to defuse, to even if it's even if you're working 12 on, 12
Decompress.
off, or you're working on an aircraft carrier flight deck, 18, 19-hour days. You don't just want to get off the flight deck, shower, eat some chow, and hit the rack right away. You're going to sit there and watch a little TV or go do something fun, play some cards, something to take your mind off of the daily grind. Otherwise it becomes Groundhog Day. So that's what MWR is for. Truly, morale, welfare, and recreation of our troops, to provide them that respite, that little piece of home when they're away and serving and doing their duty in honor of our country.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you saying that. And I think some of our professionals sometimes need to hear that and be reminded that we matter, so to speak, and out of the business now, but here we are in the middle of epic fury, and lots of things happening right now, and very important not only for those forward deployed, but those family members who are sitting back home waiting for their loved one to get back home, and that's where we can step up and make a difference, because that lets them focus on the mission.
It's precisely, exactly, when they know their families are being taken care of and have these resources and opportunities, it makes their mission a lot easier.
All right. Well, Captain John Gucci, thank you so much. It's been great catching up. I know we'll stay in contact. I hope to get over to the Norfolk, Virginia Beach area. We have friends over there, so hopefully we can hoist a beer sometime soon. And
I'll look forward to that.
There. So
great.
All right. Well, that's it for On the Front Line. Thanks again to Captain John Malfitano for being our guest and talking a little bit quality life, but also talking about his military career. We'll be back next week, same time, same place, and for another great episode. So on behalf of DPRS Media and On the Front Line, the Military Rec Show, I'm John Prue, and we are out here.
Thanks, John. Take care, everyone.
Technology isn't just changing devices, it's changing communities. It's changing how we connect, how we lead, and how we create experiences that bring people together. Because today's parks and recreation industry isn't only about fields, facilities, and programs. It's about innovation, smart systems, digital experiences, and the people transforming ideas into impact. Behind every thriving community, there are leaders embracing change. As technology evolves, parks and recreation professionals are discovering new ways to create safer spaces, stronger connections, and better experiences for everyone. This is where conversations meet innovation, where ideas become action, where parks and technology come together. Welcome to Parks and Tech Collective, streaming on DPRS Media Network.
In the parks and recreation industry, attention is limited, but influence is everything. Every day, thousands of parks and recreation professionals make critical decisions. Decisions on infrastructure, programs, technology, and vendors. The question is your brand part of that conversation? DPRS Media Network was built to answer that question. We are a dedicated media ecosystem focused exclusively on the parks and recreation industry in the United States. Through a network of daily and weekly shows, we inform, connect, and influence this audience. Our distribution spans multiple platforms: LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, plus email campaigns, newsletters, podcasts, and live event coverage. This is not a single-channel strategy. It is a multi-platform media engine. Today, our network reaches over 214,000 connections, including 51,000 on LinkedIn, 64,000 on Facebook, nearly 40,000 email subscribers, and thousands more across podcast and social platforms. While some audiences overlap, our true value is not just reach, it is relevance. We speak directly to parks and recreation directors, program managers, and industry leaders, an audience that is highly targeted and actively engaged. Through DPRS Media Network, your brand integrates seamlessly into this ecosystem. Through sponsored show segments, targeted advertisement placements, podcast features, and host-read promotions, even custom branded content. Not as interruptions, but as part of the conversation. And we don't just operate online. We attend over 15 major parks and recreation conventions each year, reaching more than 24,000 professionals in person. Through live shows, interviews, and on-site media coverage, we position our partners at the center of the industry. Every piece of content we produce is amplified across our entire network. Multiple shows, multiple hosts, multiple platforms. Your message doesn't appear once, it multiplies. This is more than advertising. It is strategic positioning within a trusted media network built specifically for the parks and recreation industry. If your goal is to reach decision makers, build credibility, and stay top of mind, then it's time to partner with DPRS Media Network. Apply for partnership or sponsorship today. Let's position your brand where the industry is already paying attention.